Hello class, welcome back to another flipped lesson. Today we're going to talk about converting fractions, decimals, and percents. And we need to be able to convert them back and forth so that we can later on compare them and put them in order. So you should have your notes that we were working on in class, and you should have a pencil. Looking at the first page of your notes, you have a review it section. And as we talked about in class, you should always do the review it sections on your own before you start your video lessons. They are a quick review of things that you're going to need to know before we do the know it sections. So if you haven't done that now, go ahead and pause the video, complete this section because I need you to understand about equivalent fractions and place values. Okay, once you've completed the review it section, we can do the know it sections. Remember, the know it sections are the things that you want to try and remember so that you can convert your fractions and decimals and percents. So looking at this section, we are starting with fractions and decimals. So we're going to convert from fractions to decimals and then decimals back to fractions. So starting with decimals to fractions, you have a few steps that you need to try and learn. We're going to do more problems, and the more you work on problems, the more you're going to remember what the steps are. So thinking about a decimal, if you have a decimal value, and I'm going to put one right down here, you should be able to read that decimal value using the place value names. So that's what you're going to do with every decimal value. You want to name the place value of the last digit, okay, the last digit. And then you're going to write it as a fraction, and if you have a whole number, you'll write that first. We don't always have a whole number. And then you'll write that decimal part as a fraction and the denominator of that place value that you named. So if you named something in the tenths, your denominator would be a 10. If you named something in the hundredths, your denominator would be 100. And then once you've created your fraction, you need to simplify it whenever you can. So let's try this example together. We're going to try 0.125. So let's read that. That actually says 125 thousandths. I know this because I look at that last digit right there, the 5, and I think about, what place value is that in? I know that's in the thousandths place. When that's in the thousands place, I can then start writing my fraction. I have no whole number to write, so I can just start writing the decimal part as a fraction, and the denominator is going to be 1,000 because it's in the thousandths place. Then we need to start simplifying our fractions if we can. Now I know using divisibility patterns, I see a 5 and a 0. It is at least divisible by 5. So I am going to go small steps in simplifying my fractions. I divide it by 5 and I have 25 over 200. And now it's even a more manageable fraction. I can divide it by 5 again and I get 5 over 40. And I can do it one more time, divide it by 5 again, and I have 1/8. So that's the simplified fraction. So 0.125 is equal to 1/8. Let's try a couple more examples on the back. So for example number 2, we have convert 2.35 to a fraction. Always know what you're converting to. Again, I'm going to figure out what my place value is. I look at that last digit, and that is in the hundredths place. So now I can write my whole number, which is a 2. I write my decimal portion as a fraction, so I write the decimal as my numerator and my place value as my denominator, and I look to see if I can simplify it. Can I simplify that? I can. Again, I can divide by 5, so I have 2 and 7/20. And that's about all I can simplify it. Let's try example 3. I'm going to convert 0.13 to a fraction. I know I need to look at that last number, the 3, and that is in the hundredths place. So I will write my whole number. I don't have any, so I don't need to do that part. And I'll write the decimal portion as a fraction over that place value. I look to see if I can simplify, and it looks like I can't on that one, so that one is done. So I want you to pause that video and try out these 3 problems, and when you get back from trying those, we'll look at those in class, and then we'll move on to fractions and decimals.